Hey, Peter. I was wondering if you could talk about how to stop self destructive behavior and also talk about the minds of modern day people. Why are we so fucked up? And what can we do about it? And or does it have to be that way? And if it doesn't, what do we do about it?
Sure. About the behavior, and that they work together about the modern human mind. Now, I sympathize. It's everybody shares, as long as we share a culture and a social world and all the assumptions and inventions that build our social world, our values, etc. We're going to share in the maladies that these things create. But the thing is, we don't know there are a lot of maladies or distress that these things create. We think they're innocent. Just like, for example, you think that the private inner world that you live within is and has no consequences. It's just an innocent world, so to speak, even though sometimes what you have going on in there is pretty evil or weird or fucked up or whatever, because it's in your private inner world and nobody can know what's in there. So you could have the most outrageous and stupid thoughts, evil thoughts, you could have destructive thoughts, you could have all kinds of thoughts in there, and probably do, along with, good thoughts and all those profound thoughts that stack themselves up. I wonder how many profound thoughts most people have. I'm thinking not many, but anyway, I don't know. In any case, you see, and then we think that because we live in this private inner world that we think is real and ordained and destined to happen, as a matter of fact, we think it is ourselves. And so because it is ourselves, it becomes sacred, etc. But the sacredness or sacricity, whatever, of your private inner world, if that's a sacred space, my God, look at what goes on in that sacred space. You should really clean that up. At least wear a pointy hat or something. Burn some incense. Come on. If that's sacred, my God, that's a different kind of sacred space than I would imagine anybody would hold as a sacred space. How about you? In any case, yes, sir?
Well, when you talk about it like that, because I imagine most people, or at least for me, when I have worked with this stuff or in the past, like when you introduce it to me, I go clean it up. First thing that comes up, like I can't, or like as if I can't control what goes on in there, or it's somehow real or necessary. Like the normal excuses, and it's like that stuff.
I went over that in the Scott thing. So I'll let that speak for itself. So yeah, no, the excuses and justifications only just keep the things the way they are. Yeah. Okay, nothing changes. So it's fine. Just live out life the way it is and suffer and whatever. You asked about the challenges that occur. You see, so I'm saying that. This reality that we live as in this private inner world, again, you see, I haven't really got to the end of that one, is it has consequences, huge consequences. And yet we don't acknowledge that. We don't even know that. We don't see that there are consequences. We think this is just reality. This is self surviving within it. And of course, all your woes are created by circumstance and sometimes your own crazy mind. But most of it by circumstance and other people and stuff. Yeah. So in any case, if if it is not real and it's not necessary, then one, you don't have to do that. See, but you can't not do that if it, in your world, in your life, it is real and necessary. You're going to do it. You have no choice in your own mind. See, so I'm saying, okay, but you're wrong. Now, what are the alternatives? Well, let's just talk about what is first before we talk about alternatives. So, and one thing about that is you don't recognize that what you think and what you imagine and what you do, all that activity that you do in your own mind has consequences. It is actually creating the discord, dissatisfaction, depression, a lot of D's, diphtheria, whatever, that's going on, See, and you don't recognize that. You see? You think those things creep up all by themselves. They don't. And then you'll bitch and moan and whine about how you can't control it and it's necessary and you have to. Well, okay, you get what you get then, right? No, you don't. All right. So then the first thing you're going to try to do, if you take me seriously and you think, oh, I'm going to try this out. This might be a way to go. Yeah. And the first thing you'll probably try to do is suppress. See, you'll go, oh, look, I have these thoughts or feelings and I'm going to suppress them. Yeah, that's going to work, right? No. I'm not talking about suppression. I'm not talking about controlling your mind in that way. See, because really what you're doing when you're suppressing, you're still creating the same stuff. All you're doing is overriding it and squishing it down and ignoring it or whatever, or trying to have a positive thought on top of it. Now, that might work a little bit. If you ignore something, your state changes. If you put a positive thought on top of something else you're doing, then, yeah, your state will change, but not for long, because you are doing it. You're still doing it, right? And how long are you going to keep a positive thought? How long are you going to keep suppressing? Probably not all that long if you're like most people, and boom, you're doing the same stuff again. You see? So I'm not talking about suppression. I'm talking about noticing what you're doing. And sometimes you have to notice what you're doing in a way most people don't notice that they're doing anything. You understand? See, for example, let me give you an example or two. Yeah, just to start us off. Say you're worried or afraid or anxious. Yeah. And you say, well, I'm worried and afraid and anxious. Why? Well, because, and then you're going to have a rap. All right? Fuck the rap. What? No, fuck the rap, really. Whatever story you have after that is irrelevant to what I'm talking about. Okay? That's just your excuse. That's just circumstances. That's what you're worried about. And you're imagining something. What, imagining something? I'm not imagining something. It's real. It really exists. No, it doesn't. That's what imagine means. Huh? You see? And it has to occur in the future, right? It's not occurring now. And we could get down to the nitty gritty about that, but most of the time we don't have to. If you just take a look, most of us. Okay, so future. So you are creating, first of all, the idea and ideation of what's going to occur in the future. You're actually doing that. What? Yeah. No future. I cannot have a future. The future exists. No, it doesn't. But. Okay. Look, if you want to fight me on this, we can just wrap up this right now, okay? In any case, you have in your imagination something going on. We should just say it's in your mind. So first acknowledge that, okay? Now, maybe you're correct. Okay, maybe the future is going to unfold exactly the way you think it's going to unfold, and maybe it's going to be a terrible thing, etc., etc. Yeah, okay. All right, maybe. Maybe not. But you see, in either case, it's your imagination right now. It's your imagination. See, you have to do that. And I guarantee you, if you look at all the things that you're worried about and blah, 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 first of all, I will bet most of them never came true. See, it did not turn out that way. Who knows what it turned out? Maybe it turned out worse. See, but I'm just saying, it's your imagination. See, it's what you're making up in your mind. See, and also the fact that you're creating a future. Again, you think you're not creating a future, but you're wrong. You are. If you do not think about something that doesn't exist and say that it's going to exist, the future doesn't exist. You follow that? But I can't do that. That's beyond my ability. No, it's not. No, it's not. And I'll tell you why it's not beyond your ability, because you're doing it now. You're doing this. The very thing I'm just talking about, you're doing it. So if it's something you're doing, you can stop doing it. And boy, is that getting old with Ralston, huh? You just give me to stop doing it, stop doing it. It's like, well, until you get it, I'll keep saying it. How's that? Yeah? And a little compact there between you and me? Yeah. Yes, sir.
Because I was thinking one of the huge, it's a weird, at least for me, it's a weird challenge where it's like I'm trying to see something I don't see. Like in one world, it looks like it's just real. My fear is real. The future is real. And in this other world, I have to like somehow get that it actually isn't. And I remember struggling with that. I mean, like in the ways that I've struggled trying to get. It's like a weird thing. Like I can't. It's like I can't see.
Yeah.
And how do I see if I can't see? How do I see?
Open your eyes.
And it yeah, it's just like
The first thing.
That's what people have a lot of.
The first thing you have to do, obviously, right, is you have to acknowledge that what I'm talking about is true. If you cannot find it in your experience, then you can't acknowledge it. So you're just believing me. You're just having hearsay.
Or an intellectual.
Yeah, and it's not going to work.
Right.
All right, but I mean, intellectually, you could start there. See, at least it's something. Oh, intellectually, I can grasp what you're saying. Must be true, or whatever, or it makes sense, or it could be true, or whatever, So okay, good. Now you took one little step. That's fine. Yeah, not enough. Now also, you acknowledge first that you are doing all these things in your mind. Okay? Stop doing all these things in your mind. Stop doing anything in your mind. See what happens. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I can. Yes, you can. Or at least, look, give it a try. Give it a try. All right? As best you can, whatever, like sit down by a babbling brook. Try to empty your mind. Don't think about anything as best you can. Right? Or if failing, concentrate on the babbling brook or something like that. Put all your attention on something simple, objective. All right. Now, you watch. When you do that, you'll calm down. No matter what stuff you got going, you'll calm down, right? That's why people meditate, you see? And they think, oh, this is great. All they're doing is, okay. So that's sort of, that's like another step in the direction that kind of gives you like, hey, maybe it's true. See, maybe I am doing this stuff in my mind. I know, and you can say, but I can't help it. But you did it just in like meditating, right? See, you just did it. You did something, right? Okay. So that helps kind of validate something, right? See, then what you got to do is watch, okay, then what do you do that's not that? Okay? So when you get up from your little, mossy stone there by the babbling brook, and then you start walking back to your car or whatever, and stuff pops up, right? Now what? Well, notice it. Oh, look what I'm doing. The first thing is acknowledge you're doing it. Look what I'm doing. Okay, now if you can't I'm not doing it, go back to your stone, right? Sit down again because you need more work, right? Now maybe you're going to be there your whole life. But that's not a bad place to be if you can eat moss. But you got the water right there, it's a babbling brook. See? So then you keep doing that until you get, oh, look, I just had this thought. I just had that thought. Now, it's not enough, okay? It's not enough, but it's absolutely essential. See, and it's a beginning, but it's not enough. Why do I say it's not enough? Because what you don't notice is the background stuff you're doing that creates that thought. See, you don't understand. You're saying, oh, I'm worried. I don't know. I might get a flat tire, whatever, on the way home. So you don't notice that you're also, one, creating a future. You're imagining a scenario. You're also imagining a scenario of things going wrong when you drive home or whatever, right? See, and it's a possibility. And then you're dwelling on that. And from all that, you start to get anxious and worried. See what I'm saying? So you got to acknowledge, yes, I'm doing all that. And then stop doing all that. All right. So you do it once or twice. Like I said to, in that interview with Scott, that sure, maybe he's asking about training. Okay, well, I just gave you the training. It's sitting by the babbling brook. There's your training and noticing, what you're doing, right? So you say, yeah, but when I get back to the big city and I get all my problems and my woes and my relationship and my business and my dog and everything, then what? I mean, my God, I'm overwhelmed. And the children, don't forget the children. In any case, so you got that stuff going on. You feel overwhelmed. Okay, I sympathize. But now dig it. What's the other thing you have to acknowledge? All right? See, so you start to acknowledge that you're doing it. Now, if you need training, great. And a lot of people, they do need training. You got to do it, a few times, right? Take something you can do and do it. See? And then the really important stuff you won't want to do because that's too important. You see? The stuff like, oh my God, that's really too important. I can't fuck with that. Okay. Start off with easy stuff then, yeah? Start off all the unnecessary crap that you can see is really unnecessary. All the worry and depression, dissatisfaction and embarrassment, all that, whatever, all that stuff that people go through. Loneliness. Okay, maybe that's too big for you. Okay, but anyway, so you do stuff and then you go, oh, yes, look, I'm doing that. If I stop doing that, that malady goes away. That problem, that distress, whatever, goes away. Oh. So at least now, at least you have a firsthand example, or two or 1,000, and of, oh, look, I can see. So you go, okay, yeah. And you get more and more used to, oh, this is where it's happening. I can see where it's happening. I can see I'm doing it. All right. So there's that. That's kind of the training aspect. But like I said, if you don't really get it, then the training is just training, which is good. Just good. It puts you on the track. It gets you contemplating. It gets you working on the problem longer, etc. See? But you have to further acknowledge, like I said, when you get home and all the the kids, the dog, and job and all that, whatever it is, overwhelm you is because you're attached to it all. See, it's because you're trying to survive it all. It's because, you cling to it. You think it's your life. You think it has to be a certain way. You think you have a destiny. These are all things you think. Are you getting this? These are things you think. You imagine. Okay? You assume. All right? This is all in the world of concept. You are generating this mental activity. Okay? Okay. I'm just saying. See, so even that you go, oh yes, I need this job, do you? But I need my kids, do you? I have to take care of my kids. All right, sure. But that doesn't create suffering. Oh, are you kidding? Have you met my kids? Anyway, in itself it doesn't, you see. In any case, you see, no, I don't. I have to defend myself against my wife or husband because they're doing this or doing that. Do you? No, you don't. Really. Like when I was young, 50 years ago, I'm serious. When I was like 50 plus years ago, I was with a woman for quite a while, and I'm how do I say, especially then, I tend to be not only arrogant, but very pushy. Okay, very according to other people, I'm sort of overwhelming in a relationship. This is what I've been told. Kind of intense, like that, right? So in any case, she developed this practice which I was astounded. This really caught me. It's a couple of times, I've been caught by other people's actions, and this is one. And it's like I would start on something, and like we're going to get into an argument or a disagreement or something, right? So I could feel this thing coming, right? And I start down that road, and she looks at me and says, "You're absolutely right," and that just stopped me in my tracks. Oh, okay. It's like, what? Oh, what? What? See, now there's nothing for me to fight. There's nothing for me to go against. There's nothing for me to prove or to show. Blah, blah, blah. You see, so I was just taken out I wasn't even participating in that. You know what I'm saying? And she just like, "You're absolutely right, Peter." It's like, what? Okay. So anyway, I'm just saying, you see, you could do that yourself. I don't know, tell yourself you're absolutely right, but you can stop the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? You can stop like, "Oh, I have to do this." Do I have to do this? No, I don't. "Oh, am I going to die if I don't defend myself right now? Am I going to die if I don't wear the right dress at the, party? Am I going to die, if I don't get that raise?" Whatever. It's like, no, 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 no. Oh. You mean, so if I don't get all upset, if I don't try really hard, if I don't do all this stuff, I'll still be okay? Yeah, you will. Oh, but I want people to love me. I want to feel wealthy. I want people to look at me and think, "Wow, what a beautiful dress I've got," whatever. Okay, then grasp that and acknowledge it. That's something, again, hello, you think, something you want. It's something you're doing, okay? Go ahead and do it. I hope you have a nice dress or suit or whatever, and people just, "Whoa, don't you look dapper?" or whatever. "Aren't you beautiful?" Whatever. Great. And you get all the, stuff you need. But that's not really where your suffering lies, in particular. I mean, some of it. The angst, the worry does. Just put on the fucking dress and go to the party, okay? You know what I'm saying? You don't need to worry about it. You don't need to go through all this trauma and crisis over something so stupid or relatively minor in the scheme of things. Okay? I mean, I understand. We live in a society, and you care what other people think of you. Everybody cares what other people think of them, even if they claim they don't. They do. Trust me, they do. Because this is an important aspect of our self-existence, our self-image, our self-concept, see? And that's developed anyway. So, in any case, what I'm saying is first you acknowledge what you're doing in the ways that I just mentioned, and then you start acknowledging also the forces that keep you doing it. See? What are you attached to? See? What is your self doing? Your self-survival, the way you're trying to live life. What are you attached to that almost seems to force you down these roads? Great, don't be attached to those things. Or lighten up in any case, They're usually not that important. And, now that we're on the subject, neither are you. This whole I talk about cultural assumptions and shared values and all this. Well, one that's running around, you asked about a modern mind, right? Well, one of the things that's running around in the so-called modern mind is this sacred individual. The individual is sacred. It's become more and more sacred and more like a king or queen or dictator in our own world. And so anything like you get your feelings hurt. "Oh no, I can't because, I'm sacred. It's me. I didn't give it what I want. Or you said something that I don't like," and all that kind of crap. Okay, you're not that important. Okay? Your feelings are not that important. Whoa! Oh, I'm going to have some psychologists coming after me, huh? No, actually, the psychologists study with me, but that's a different matter. Okay? See, but you got, it's like, no. Your feelings are important. You have to acknowledge your. All right. Look, let's pretend for a moment that what a psychologist is trying to do when you say, "Oh, I don't know, I have this feeling," "No, your feelings are important," like that. They're just trying to get you to acknowledge what's going on, okay? And allow them to be there because they are there, all right? Great. And then you can't deal with something unless you allow it to be there, unless it exists, right? See, so you got to first do that. Okay? But that doesn't mean you have to have those feelings or you have to nurture those feelings. And so when we get past this idea that I am so important and I'm special and I'm destined to great things, and what human being doesn't have all three of those going on? And yet every human being thinks they're unique. You see? And you say, well, I am unique. I am unique. I'm like a snowflake. Yeah, sure. You're a lot of slushy water. Okay? And it's like, so what? You're a snowflake and you'll melt. This is true. I don't mean that you're a snowflake and you melt, but that you're unique and you're going to die. So what? You know what I'm saying? See, I would invite you to lighten up on that. You know? See? Just notice, oh, yes, we do that. Oh, yes. Accept that as a value, that I am so important and so essential. What? How about if not? How about if not? Now, see, then you go down a stupid road like, well, then I'm worthless and I'm bad and I don't live. Okay, yeah, no. You're still being too damn important. You know, if you're all upset about being worthless, how about just dropping the whole thing? How about not focusing on you a little bit? You know? You could focus on others. That's always looked on as a really good thing in our society. Nobody does it. Well, very few people do it, right? But see, that's always looked on a good thing because that's hard to do. See, and then like who are in the Western world, in the Christian world, right? Who is our idol in that world, right? Jesus. Why? Well, because he focused on others. What? We can't do that. Only the Son of God can do that. That's a really high bar. Not to be selfish and focused on yourself. Unto death. No, you cannot. But you don't go back to the babbling brook. All right, sit with the babbling brook. Focus on the babbling brook. Even if you like babbling brooks, I like babbling brooks. So they sound nice, they're very soothing, whatever. Fountains, whatever. In any case, you see, when you start moving your attention to other values, other assumptions, other ways of holding and thinking and stuff, then you have other drives. You have different drives. Yeah. So the first thing is to notice what you are doing and then stop doing it. Yeah. And unfortunately, we've accepted over millennia more and more and more and more stuff that gets us into trouble without realizing what gets us into trouble. Okay? We don't realize that becoming an individual, a self and self-important, becoming a little king in our fiefdom, living in the inner world, our own private inner world, etc., having a destiny, and blah, 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 that those things, and, creating a future and language and past and all that, have consequences. So just notice what you are doing. And then when you drive at it, notice that you're doing these are existential. You're doing this. Then there was they live, this is where your existence lives, see, in all of this stuff. Okay? And then see if you can wrench free some of your sense of being that doesn't live in all that stuff. Okay? At least you get some space. Yeah? See? At least you get an idea of a possibility of not living in all that stuff. That's why I talk about the rabbit. You see? The rabbit doesn't live in all that stuff, but he lives. Hops around, eats grass, does stuff, right? Lives. He does not live in all that stuff. So first of all, be the rabbit. That's like the babbling brook, And notice what you are doing, and then stop doing it. Is it going to come back? Probably. Why? Because, you're human and you're programmed. And how long have you spent doing this stuff? How long have you spent creating it, perfecting it, building on it, and finding more and more ways, more and more convoluted ways to try to realize all the whatever drives and self identity that you have, whatever, destiny and all that. How long? Well, how old are you? That's how long, right? See? So you can imagine that you got a good run going here, all right? See? And it's going to be normal to do that. Plus, everybody else around you is doing it. and your entire culture is doing it. So it's really hard. You you kind of feel like, alone in that, right? So you have to be like, wow, audacious. I'm going to do something other people don't do. Okay, gift yourself that, all right, existentially, and see where it goes. Yes, sir.
Is there a place where is this rabbit meditation? And then also, is there a workshop people can do that's aligned?
Always with the workshops, huh? Always with the
You gotta
workshops.
sell.
Okay. The yeah, of course. The endless unnecessary suffering. Endless okay. ending. Okay. Grasping that you have endless suffering and buying the book, ending unnecessary suffering. Saying, but that is going to come out in just a few months. What's this? January, February,
Spring
March.
2025.
So just a couple months, really. A little more, a couple months. All right, a couple months. And yeah, it's been way too long. I'm sorry. It's not my fault. Don't blame me. It's the publishers. Anyway, Anyway, it was delayed for a year.
Yeah.
It was supposed to come out a year ago. In any case,
Is there a workshop that goes with that?
yeah, sure. Lots of them. All of them. All of them, work in the same domain. All of them. EMB, TEL, TLD, all of them. That we do workshops, like contemplation workshops. Okay, that's just it's a place to contemplate. That's good for you. That's your babbling brook thing, but with contemplation instead of meditation. But everything I've invented or created has that same basic foundation to it.
Yeah. I mean, because obviously I'm biased. I was thinking about the ending suffering workshop, which speaks specifically to ending this crap.
Yeah. But you see, again, and the ending suffering workshop is brilliant, okay? And it really does the trick. But you probably won't. Why? Because, you're you, right? And you're committed to yourself, and you're committed to, your life and the way things are, and you think you're observing reality, see? And so you'll get some space, and you probably get a lot of space for a while, and then you go back and blah, 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 and you'll struggle and like that. So it's useful to also do, okay, pushy, these other workshops. No kidding, all right? If I did all these workshops for free, and we had whatever, right? I'd still do them. I still recommend them. I'd still say, yes, do it. Okay? See, it's not about the money, right? The money is just so we can continue here and, put food on the table, whatever, right? But it's not about that. I would say, yes, do the EMB. People come to me all the time, and, okay, not all the time because I don't have a lot of people. But anyway, I run into people, and they'll have some challenge, and I'll listen to them, and I'll talk to them, just normal people, butcher, baker, candlestick maker, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And we get to talking, whatever, and I will say, really, you should do this or you should do that. I don't say you should do everything, because they're a butcher, they're a massage therapist or whatever. They're not. That's not their world. Okay, they're not ready for it, perhaps. But I can see you really should do this particular workshop because, man, it's right up your alley and it's going to handle what it is you've got going on here. All right? See? And I mean that. I really do. I'm not asking them for money. I've even given people stuff for free just because they say, you really need this. Here, do it, take it, do it. That usually doesn't work well because people don't honor and respect things that come for free. Anyway, that's another story. But
Next episode.
yeah, next episode. But anyway, I'm just saying, it's for real. See, the more educated you get, the more experience you get in experiencing the nature of being and all of that stuff, right? Condition, effect, and survival, and manipulation, and all that, and breaking free of that, and completion, and all that. Once you get steeped in that, and then you get steeped in it again and again, okay? Because hey, we're bucking the natural trend here, okay? We're going upstream in a stream that or a river or a flash flood that's going downstream, all right? Okay? See, the way I used to call it in the old days, I call it the stream of humanity. That's what I called it. Long time ago in the old school. I called it the stream of humanity. And that's like, for example, when I say, turning into, you see. But I would say we have to go upstream. We're going against the stream
Like
of
that
humanity.
Force of
Yes.
being like
All of
this.
humanity.
Interesting.
Everything that we're doing.
That's okay. That makes more sense.
And it all pushes us in this direction. Yeah. So you don't have to work on doing that. You're doing that naturally. It comes up for you naturally. All that stuff that you do, a lot of which is, not that functional or healthy. See, but because there's this flow of our culture, our society, of human conditions and values, ideas and assumptions, etc., because that's what's accepted as the norm. That's what's lived as the norm. That's where we're surviving. That's where we're existing. That's the reality in which we live. And because that's the case, it has force to it, you see. And so doing this kind of work is contrary to that force. First of all, in doing this work, we're pointing out, as I've been, this whole podcast, as I've been doing, we're pointing out what's taking place. What is the stream? What's floating down that stream here? What's out? There's a boat. Okay, here's a log. Okay, there's a frog. Whatever, it's like, what's going on here? See? Okay, and then we're saying, okay, now go upstream. Okay, that can be a challenge. And then at some time we say, well, now get out of the stream. Now, nobody wants to get out of the stream because they live in the stream. You're a fucking frog. Whatever. Say, but, or a fish, I guess. Say, but, you get out of the stream. Now you're not pushed by it anymore. Say, now, okay. Now that sounds blissful, but it's probably going to take a little work, right? Because you don't want to get out of the stream. The stream is you. It's your destiny. It's your import. It's your life. It's your survival. You don't want to give up any of that. But I'm just saying, all right? You should, okay? And see, when you, so you do the work, for example, say a workshop, another workshop, you see, and you start making, you have insights. And some of it sticks, okay? And some of it plants some seeds, right? Does it totally transform your life forever and ever? Usually not. Every once in a while, somebody really, gets blown away and, their whole life changes. But mostly, you make progress, then you hit it again, you make progress. It's like, it's like reading the book and not knowing. If you've read the book and not knowing, and then you read it again. And when you read it again, you get more than you did the first time, guaranteed. Guaranteed. And there's lots of reasons for that, and I've gone into it. You see, but you do it again, you do it again. That's your training, okay? That's like, going to the babbling brook. Except here, it's a lot more intense than a babbling brook. And we're deliberately working on stuff, to go against the stream, so to speak. Yeah. And then, the more progress you make, and the more progress you make in being able to do the things we're talking about you can do, and that you are doing, and changing what you are doing, and stuff like that, then the more insights you have, right? You need the insights, you need the realizations, and to grasp what's true. Say what's true. What's true like what you're doing, but also what's true like what's true. Independent of what you're doing, independent of what you think, what's true. You see, people tend not to go down that road. See, but we do that work here over and over again, and it sinks in. At least it works for me. Maybe not for you, but for me. Yeah, in any case, yeah. You got to do it. And I understand, the stream is strong. That's why you need the support, usually. You need a rope. At least grab onto the rope. And we can help pull you out, pull you somewhere else. Anyway, okay, I'm done with the metaphor. Yes, sir.
So I was thinking one of the biggest challenges that I suspect other people have is there's that stuff and it just seems like it comes up. And it's my mind just comes up with this. It's like automatic.
Yeah, I already covered that.
What do we
It doesn't. Nothing in your mind just comes up. And it might seem like that, See, and it's like when you have a dream, right? You're in a dream when you're sleeping. Say you have a dream, right? And it would seem, especially if you don't know you're dreaming, right, which is usually the case, it seems like stuff is just occurring. right? You're living in a reality, whatever. There's a house, there's sun, there's people, there's climbing a ladder, whatever it is you're doing. So in the dream. And you say, well, that just came up because you have no idea of doing it. You have no idea. You can't find where in your mind, your brain is doing that. All right. You know, dreams aside, but you can see once you wake up, right? And I'm not trying to create a metaphor here, although maybe, yeah. See, but once you wake up, you see, oh, not only was I having the dream, see? Because you admit, I was having the dream. I was dreaming that. You don't know how you were dreaming it, but at least you acknowledge you were dreaming it, right? See, not only was I having this dream, well, I had this dream, no matter, but everything in it wasn't real. See, it was all in your imagination, without which you couldn't have the dream, you see? Because the ladder and the room and the sun really didn't exist in your dream. See? It was just in you're imagining it. You're making it up. Okay? So kind of, like that, you got to get, okay, yeah, this is something I'm doing. See? So at least you start with, like say we just continue with this dream analogy, you start with acknowledging I'm having the dream, I'm doing the dream. Okay? Then next you have to actually have the dream while you're having it. See, well, that seems like a tall order. Yeah. What? We're not wussy around here. Come on. Have the dream while you're having it. You say, oh, it seems like a real tall order. Yeah. Do it. See, and then once, say, metaphorically speaking, because I don't care about your dreams, but see, once you get, oh, look, I am dreaming, and look, I'm doing this. Oh, I'm going to go around this corner, and guess what? I already know I'm going to be scared by the monster in the dream. Whoa, that's good. I can know that before, whatever. Oh, look what I'm doing. Oh, guess what? I'm going to turn and go the other way. Whatever, I'm not going to go around that corner. Whatever, I don't know. You see, so you start mastering your dreams or something like that, right? So we're talking, this is only a metaphor, okay? See, but you see the difference. See, oh, look, I'm doing it. It's kind of like the Matrix, right? It's like, oh, look, I'm doing it, And then you have to start taking control of the doing of it. But, again, you're not supported by that, except by the, what's his name? Anyway, the other people in the Matrix. Anyway, see.
Morpheus?
I guess so.
Neo?
Whatever. Anyway, just metaphorically speaking, the truth is not the Matrix, trust me. That's dismal. In any case, yeah. But you see, you can see the relationship there. But it takes work. And like I say, people, nobody thinks that they can study the martial arts and in 1 week they get it all. Nobody thinks that. See, they hope they make progress. They learn some things. They get better at some stuff, right? Hopefully, right? Maybe you learn a lot of things. I mean, if you study a Cheng Hsin, you do. If you studied a normal martial arts, not so much. Just some techniques here and there. It's kind of lame. But in any case, nobody thinks. They think they're going to have to train some. They're going to have to work at it in order to master it, in order to really get what it is and what's going on. But everybody thinks consciousness work. No, I'll just do a weekend and I'll be all fixed. See, and then there's another problem. So you're assuming you need to be fixed, say, etc. And you don't need to be fixed, but you don't know that. Because you don't know what you are, you don't know what's going on, etc. You see? And so you have these false hopes and these false maladies. Anyway, so we clear all that up, and you're good to go. Yes, sir.
How does somebody go about knowing these things?
What things?
Like, you don't need to be fixed, or
well, one, you read my books.
The dream, like as the metaphor of the dream part, like how do they recognize they're dreaming? Like first they hear about it.
They can't. They have to contemplate. They have to work on it. Yeah.
So what is?
They have heard about it.
Yeah.
Contemplating. You know what it is.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what it is. You're just not willing to do it. You're not willing to put in the time. You're not willing to really do it. You see? It's like I used to say in the old school, when we do in the martial aspect, right? When I'm teaching martial arts. And I wouldn't take people seriously, a student seriously, until they'd been there for 3 years at least, you see? I mean, the first, because people come and go, and they're not serious. They're hobbyists, whatever. And that's fine, See, but once they're there for about 3 years, they go, okay, maybe you're serious. Maybe you're going to study, you see? And then I'd watch them. I'd start to push them. I'd start to press them more, see, to actually get stuff, to get good, become skillful. And, and then I'd watch. And over again, I'd say, I made up this way of speaking, and I'd say, you see, you think you're going to get in through the back door. So you think you can't really do this. See, not for real. So you think somehow you're going to slip in the back door because you're not, whatever. You don't one, have, confidence in yourself that you're going to do it. Two, you think you're going to, like, whatever, luck out or whatever, and come in anonymously, and nobody's going to notice, that somehow you're getting in through the back door. I said, there is no back door. You do it or you don't do it. You do the work or you don't do the work. You own it, you don't own it. You see? But it has to be you, and it has to be you for real. It can't be like you're trying to fake your way into it or pretend your way into it. And in the spiritual world, almost everybody is trying to pretend their way into it. They think they can somehow fake their way to success or to enlightenment. And you can't. And I'm including in that, a lot of people who are valiantly trying to contemplate and work, and take on some kind of discipline. And still in the background is somehow they're faking it, because you are. See? You're not willing to actually do the work. I mean, for real, right down to the deepest part of your soul, so to speak. And there is no soul. But anyway, it's like, but where you live, so anyway, yeah, there is no back door.